Vegas. This is NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hello and welcome to the 2017 NAB Show right here from Las Vegas. I'm Ryan Salazar, your host, trying to keep my voice going. We have two really great guests. I know these guys really well. The first one, the amazing, the one, the only, Jeff Rosica. How you doing, sir?
Hello, Ryan. How are you? Good to see you.
So for those that don't know, and everybody knows, Jeff Rosica is the president of Avid Technology, an amazing organization, and they're doing the Avid Connect event this week. Let's talk about that real quick.
Well, yeah, so actually we completed it yesterday. We had Avid Connect this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. It's where we made a number of big announcements. Probably the most important one was our partnership with Microsoft, is we're going to help the media industry or lead the media industry into the cloud. So that was a big announcement, and it was a terrific event this weekend.
All right, and then the one, the only, Harry Glazier. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Ryan, great to see you.
All right, so talk about what you do and what Sprocket does.
Sure. Sprocket's a collaboration between industry and startups to bring new products to market. We showcase in the NAB, and then we have 3 private meetings a year at our corporate partners. And the next one's we're going to have at Google.
Okay, so let's talk about trending technologies at an NAB show. You know, Jeff, the world of editing has changed so much, and not even that, just graphics and studio production environments. What are you guys seeing at Avid?
Well, I think obviously everyone's focused on workflow. I mean, obviously everyone's trying to get more content out, and they're trying to do it at a much faster pace and without having to spend a lot more money. So everything's about efficiency and workflow. And I think obviously one of the big underpinning technologies that's really emerging as something, it's been around for a while, but the whole cloud concept, I think it's really coming to media now in a very big way. So we think this is going to be a pivotal year where cloud's really going to help transform workflows in media.
All right, and Harry, you know, Sprocket is a great example of how the industry evolves.
Sure.
You guys have all sorts of ideas that come through, and they end up in larger companies like Avid.
Correct.
Let's talk about some of the things you guys are doing.
I mean, what we're really seeing, I mean, you hear a lot of hype about virtual reality, but what really drives everything in the real estate market, you say location, location, location. Here it's really data analytics, data analytics, data analytics, and you see a lot of machine learning and automated intelligence and helping with workflow, as you said, from the cloud. And that's really the big thing, looking with compression, but it's how you target the audience.
Right, so acceleration towards an IP environment.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I mean, it's IP. I was just setting up our studio just a couple weeks ago, testing the control room in Fort Lauderdale before we shipped it out, and I'm terminating SDI cables like crazy and going nuts. And the guys at NewTek are saying, Ryan, what are you doing? You're terminating cables. I'm thinking, what's going on? So let's talk about how it's all evolving.
Well, I think it's evolving in a big way. I mean, obviously the post world has been IP for a while. Today's post environment's all digital, but now, you know, what we are able to do on both the live production side, capturing, and the distribution side, if we can get to an all IP environment, that really does help the industry really go to an all digital environment. So, yeah, I think it's a big move, and I think that is another underpinning. I mean, you're not going to take BNC cables to the cloud.
Right, so, exactly. So AR and VR, it's
huge.
So, you know, as different things come to the show each year, you either think they're going to stick or they're not. And AR and VR was a big thing last year, and it's an even larger thing this year. So as it makes its way into audiences, how does it affect a company like Avid?
Well, I think it obviously, first of all, I agree with you. I think VR, AR, it is going to stick. I don't think there's any question about that at this point. But, you know, production in AR, VR is more difficult or more complex, a lot more to it. So I think it is going to transform the way Avid has to look at helping our customers, you know, shoot content, post-produce content, et cetera, and to get that content out to the viewer. So it will make a big difference, I'm sure.
So, as far as AR and VR goes, Harry, are you seeing any of that in your development?
Yeah, of course. But right now, it's kind of like the automobile industry was when it first started. You have thousands of companies out there. It's really hard to differentiate and see who the market leaders are. What I'm really looking at platform companies that help make for the distribution of this rather than production companies. And you see a lot of the production now and a lot less of the content.
Okay, so we got a guys. We've known each other for several years. I'm blanking out my brain here. Charlie Vogt, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
It's always great having you on the show and all the great events you had. You guys just had Imagine Live last night, right?
Yes.
How did that go? Good?
It went great, thank you.
Oh, that's excellent. So as the industry evolves into IP, and you guys as a broadcast organization, how's that affecting you guys?
Well, it's going great. I mean, we certainly have done some of the forecasting over the last few years, and I think it's certainly prepared us as much as one can be prepared on this side. But you know, I'm excited to see that, you know, there's conviction and adoption towards a standard protocol around IP that all the suppliers can get behind. And we're certainly learning a lot, and we're in that sort of pendulum right now where more and more of our customers are moving away from an all baseband network and moving into an all IP domain. So it's pretty exciting.
So could you talk about microservices and how you guys are involved?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the biggest things that we announced today, I mean, we've been building our next generation end-to-end IP solutions based on our own microservices technology, and over the course of the last 18 to 24 months, we've had more and more of our customers who have wanted to take that source code and be able to utilize that technology in such a way that they can build on top of it themselves, as well as bring in third-party application developers and enhance their own network architecture. And so one of the decisions that we've made in a very soft launch here at the show was to open up that source code and make that available to our customers.
All right, so Jeff, more and more companies are working towards distribution over social, digital, and mobile and OTT.
Yeah.
I assume you guys are very heavily involved with that.
Yeah, I think, well, obviously Charlie's company is more on the distribution side, but our job is to help people create the content and prepare that content and make it easy to get into an environment like the imagined situation. So yeah, it's a big deal because people, as I said before, people have to produce so much more content today, and it's exponentially growing every year, but they can't exponentially grow their staff or their cost base. So they've got to find ways to do this really efficiently. So our job in this chain of ecosystems is to make sure people can produce the content, create the content, and hand it off in a very efficient way that it can then be distributed very efficiently.
So as far as cloud-based services go, Harry, do you have any, I'm sure there are some companies that are in the Sprocket program that deal with cloud. Amp Live is probably run in the cloud, I assume.
Correct.
So. And Amp Live delivers traffic to live broadcast like we're doing right now.
Yeah, they were a Sprocket company last year. They're great.
Yeah, they're excellent. So as more and more companies are producing 4K content, it starts to take hold, and broadcasters are actually broadcasting in 4K. Are you guys seeing that a lot, Charlie?
I think that
getting there?
The folks like Avid and I think the folks who are actually shooting and producing content are seeing more applications right now today around 4K and higher quality production. For us, it's a little easier for us to prepare to move those bits and distribute that content around into the network. So it's less of a complex algorithm, if you will, than it is, I think, for others. So we're sort of agnostic to whether the content is traditional SD, HD, 4K or beyond. I think your question about cloud is a little bit more interesting to us because we certainly are starting to see more and more of our customers move more of their content, some part or all of their network functions into a private or public cloud environment. Disney ABC, which we announced 2 years ago, is finally deploying their next generation master control and the playout network into their own private cloud, and we're seeing more and more of our clients moving into a cloud environment, and I think that's going to dominate the themes here over the next couple of years.
All right, so let's talk about storage. And Jeff, this is like the nightmare of the post-production world. I grew up in post. I've been in post for about 15 years. Storage is a huge thing, and as 4K, 8K, and beyond, all the other Ks, right? So how do you deal with all that storage?
Well, obviously it consumes a lot of bandwidth and a lot of storage capacity, but again, we have to be able to help our customers do things very efficiently. They're not, people don't have the budget to buy 4 times or 8 times more storage, obviously. So we got to find ways to do it very efficiently and to help them in keeping that storage managed. But it is driving a lot of demand. Like just today or yesterday, we had to unveil some updates to our storage platform just to literally create the bandwidth possibilities. So I think you have to have the speed and capacity. You got to have the right price point, but you do got to help people manage their storage more efficiently. They can't just throw it in storage and forget about it. They've got to manage it really efficiently in this 4K, 8K world.
No, I think he's right. We're starting to sell more storage as a company that's not necessarily known for storage than we ever have, just because, I think the broadcasters and TV networks are looking for companies that are able to optimize storage for next-gen playout, next-gen OTT. And when you look at the traditional storage players, they're just not waking up thinking about how storage needs to be optimized for the traditional broadcasters and TV networks. And it's giving companies like us an opportunity to provide that solution that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
So the next step after storage is the assets and managing those assets, and you guys certainly have a huge part of that space.
Yeah, we do. It's, it's obviously to storage. It's really all in managing the assets, whether it's in production or whether it's finished assets that we have to manage, into a playout environment. That's a big part of what we've got to do, and people are looking to manage that in a very efficient way. But also, people did it in silos, and that won't work anymore. People need to be able to manage across large enterprises, globally, and so we've got to make sure that we help people manage not just within an organization, but also across an organization. It's a big part of what people have to do.
All right, so Charlie, let's talk about AIMS and the industry-wide standards that that it's facilitating.
Well, look, we couldn't be more excited about what's happened. AIMS is only 18 months old. It started out with 3 companies that felt like, we had to bring an industry together to align on next generation IP-based standards. It's a lot easier for us to all compete and create an ecosystem when we all agree on what standards it is that our customers are expected to adopt versus competing against standards. And I think that our industry, our customers, have applauded AIMS first and foremost for the fact that we've gone from a few companies to 70 companies, big, small, and across the entire workflow that are all 100% aligned on where the industry is going, and it's going to be what fuels and accelerates the adoption curve to IP.
So, as far as I'm just flashing back in the post world, right? So, So Jeff, when I ran a post facility in Fort Lauderdale, large facility, and I remember we used to use Avid products, and the editors were locked in to make sure they had to be in a certain standard, right? Like Avid would make sure you conform your project to that particular setting, and so I like that about the Avid products. That it's the Wild West now, right? So it's if you open up Final Cut or any of these some of these other applications, it's literally the Wild West if you change these settings. So I just wanted to say that I respect what Avid does very much so, because you guys make sure that everything is the way it should be along the whole process.
But you're right, but we do have to work with the fact that the world's changing. So we unveiled a product called Media Composer First, which is our free version. In that version, we've had to adapt to a lot of things, including people are going to shoot on all kinds of cell phones and devices. So we've even Avid's had to open up certain parts of our workflow to be almost ubiquitous. That give us anything and we'll deal with it. And that's the reality of the world. We can't change it. But when you're doing a high-end production, workflows need to be efficient. You've got to stick to something that makes sense.
Exactly. So I've seen so many projects. A guy's working at 23976, and then he's got some 2997, and then all of a sudden 25 frame. Where'd you get that 25 frame thing? So it's just kind of crazy.
That's our world.
Exactly. All right. So we just
dropped in.
Exactly. So we have Shira Lazar. How you doing, Shira?
I'm good. I just sneaked onto stage.
All right. So let's everybody give Shira a round of applause here.
Thank you. Got the energy going here at NAB.
So Shira, we're talking about trends in the industry.
Okay.
Our trends at NAB show right now, and you are very heavy on digital. So what are you thinking? What's going on?
Well, with what's trending my company, definitely we're looking at live streaming. Like I'm nerding out on all the live stream platforms here, from LiveView to Livestream and their Mevo camera, which you could use anywhere just through your phone, and then basically direct it on your phone. I think that's so cool. The accessibility of those live streaming tools and the platforms, and finally the audiences seems to be ready. So that's what I'm nerding out about, and then it's really cool to see all the OTT platforms here, big shows. Obviously, like a lot of the Amazon shows are here, and America Ferrera we were talking about. I'm interviewing the Game of Thrones EP later, as well as The Man in the High Castle, and then seeing an IFC series like Brockmire be here. Just like how a lot of these platforms are, building these franchises, and how are they finding the audience and building the IP, and it's cool to see that here this year.
All right, so real quick, Charlie, let's get back a little bit to more about what you guys do. ATSC 3.0, okay, and how media companies can monetize new ad and video delivery benefits. Let's talk about that.
So is that the press release that we launched with Sinclair? Actually, it's actually an exciting time because both Avid and Imagine, I think, are very, very focused on the evolution for the traditional broadcasters to move into an IP domain to where not only they can monetize their business through traditional ads, beyond just delivering video content, but they're also going to be able to move into a domain where they can actually begin to offer subscription-based service as well. And so ATS 3.0 in our mind is a game changer. It's a requirement for the traditional broadcasters, and it's certainly something that companies like us have been spending a lot of time, money, and energy on.
So talk about ATSC 3.0 a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people know, obviously,
Yes.
I almost called you Harris. Imagine is very tight with Sinclair. We are too. We're a big part of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
So, our job, again, the same thing I talked about before, is help Sinclair and other companies going to ATSC 3.0 or other platforms really monetize that content, right? We've got to, if you can't do it efficiently in the production process, thinking ahead as to how you're going to monetize this content, we've got to have ways to serve this up so that, again, someone like Imagine could take advantage of this and help these guys monetize this.
Yeah, it's about getting hyper-localized and regional ad campaigns that aren't there today that, they'll be able to monetize in the future.
So that's when you get into like programmatic advertising, and
Yes.
I think it's giving tools to the traditional networks and broadcasters they didn't otherwise have. You look at a Facebook, they know what you're doing. Amazon knows what you're buying. Google knows what you're searching. Traditional broadcasters didn't have that. Now they're going to be able to have those data analytics, and I said the machine learning to target those particular advertisers. That's the cool part because they don't have those tools now.
yeah, it's quite exciting. And Shira, you're heavy on digital, right? So think about analytics and the programmatic side.
Monetization is huge because we all get excited about these numbers and audiences and communities, but they're not sustainable if you can't make money off of them. So I think as all these traditional companies are building their OTT models and future business models, it's how are people going to discover those? So they'll obviously have their current viewership, and they could advertise on the stations and where they're already at. But then how do you utilize social media to advertise? And obviously you can get in front of people, but then what content, why are they going to want to go to your OTT? I think there's going to be something around the loyalty to the brand, and they remember the brand, they get that it's a brand they trust, but ultimately they're going to need to rejigger what they're creating. So there's going to be a lot of new programming that comes up, a lot of new producers, a lot of new talent that these traditional companies are working with, like Sinclair. I'm working with Sinclair and Circa right now, and I'm talking to them about a lot of this stuff, and we're figuring it out. And I also do think that you're going to be selling advertisers on a mixed media model. I think it's going to be programmatic. I think if you're smart, though, you're going to say, okay, it's going to be programmatic here, we're going to do social here. It's going to be packaging across all your platforms, because ultimately that audience is going to be much bigger, and that story is going to be much bigger, and the reach if you do it that way.
Yeah. The cool thing is, like you say, you'll be showing different ads to the same people that are watching the show. So the father, the mother, they may all be seeing different ads than the kids.
Yeah, customizing it, personalizing it.
And today it's also the issue that you're dealing with. It's no longer a walled garden. There are only a few companies that can do that. Most everybody can't. So you're seeing some interesting collaborations come with the different partners that used to be competitors, because sometimes you have to collaborate before you compete.
Yeah, and I think the targeting is a key part of this. I mean, I look at even us, so with Avid, a lot of our products are software downloads, and so we use a lot of digital marketing to do that. And I look at how much ROI we get on targeted advertising in a digital environment, whether it be mobile or web or whatever. The power of that in the hand of broadcasters who have a lot of bandwidth and have a lot of connectivity, that can be quite powerful from a monetization standpoint.
But I think the one thing that's really important about ATS 3.0 is something that's sort of the elephant in the room. If you think about the evolution of 5G, and you think about the evolution of DOCSIS 3.x, and now ATS 3.0, you now have three very similar means to get content to customers, which creates, frankly, an opportunity and a big challenge for our broadcasters and TV networks, because now everyone is essentially going to have the ability to reach the audience that maybe they couldn't yesterday, which means that they're all fighting for the same dollar.
Yeah.
Where yesterday it was easy to grab onto and tomorrow it's not. And so, this embracing of the new technology and how consumers are going to consume, and what they're, how do you get consumers to want to spend time at a certain, call letter station group? How do you, what is the grab? What is the differentiator? I think is the single biggest challenge that our traditional customers, which we have to continue to make relevant, have in front of them, going forward.
All right, so Harry, what happens after NAB for Sprocket?
As I said, we meet 3 times a year with our corporate partners, which are, Fox, Verizon, Samsung, and the next meeting is at Google. They're one of our corporate partners, and we basically bring the startups in with the corporate partners and figure out new solutions to the kind of the problems we're talking here. And then one of the things the industry is struggling with is, talk to these guys, is operating CapEx expenses. How do you deal with the existing system where you got to put money into the old one? So it's a real challenge for them. All the things, they know they have to go that way now, but the dollars and money and don't justify it, but they have to. So it's kind of like you got to be an amphibian. You got to go new arms, legs, and gills to be able to function.
All right, so Shira, anything special you want to talk about from the show?
From the show in general,
Yeah.
I'm the digital evangelist for the Met Effects. So
Yeah, what is the Met Effect? Let's
media,
get into
entertainment,
that.
technology, the
Okay.
fact that all of these things are converging, they can't exist without the other, and what that means for the industry and the opportunities and possibly the obstacles, but how we can find solutions and collaborate and work together on those things. So that encapsulates a lot. It's like where consumers are going, where creators are going, and how it all connects. So that's what I'm excited to do here, and I'm going to be on a lot of panels and speaking to a lot of people, doing a lot of live interviews actually on our Facebook page, facebook.com/What's Trending. And then for What's Trending, we're figuring out the next stage. We're a digital publisher and media brand for millennials. We're a small company though, so what does that mean? Looking ahead, how can we connect with bigger traditional media companies to incubate these ideas before they build and scale them and build like real business models around them? And work with the next generation of creators, and how do you bring those creators to now these new platforms as well and monetize what they're doing? So
Well, it's interesting you said about smaller companies getting bigger. So Broadcast Beat started out of my house, and about 3 years ago, and here we are today, and we're attracting a massive audience all the time. And,
Yeah.
and yourself too. I mean, you were a television reporter, right?
yeah, I mean, I've always had one foot in traditional
Right.
and 1 foot in digital, but yeah, I worked with NBC for their shows First Look and Open House. When LXTV was a website, they got acquired by NBC. I've been on Reel's channel. I've worked with Headline News. So definitely, it excites me to bring like what I see in digital to traditional.
Yeah.
But I keep my foot here because like all the early adopter stuff happens here, and I see things like years before everyone else sees them. So that excites me, but it excites me to be the first to bring it to a bigger company because in the end, we need each other. We need that collaboration to happen.
Yeah, just amazing the digital age, how it allows smaller companies like ours, as we grow,
Yeah.
to get with large organizations like you guys. It's really great.
What you just said there is what Sprocket does. It brings the big companies and the smaller companies
Hey, we should
together
talk
to
more.
bring
Yeah. There you
absolutely.
go.
Exactly. Anything special for you guys after NAB, Jeff?
I mean, as I said before, our big news was the partnership we forged with Microsoft on taking the media industry to the cloud and taking the production to the cloud. And I know, my competitor here, or not really competitor, my colleague here is working with Microsoft very well. So for us, it's a big deal. I was joking with our team that we had a couple meetings this morning, and literally afterwards I said, "So we're going to talk about cloud and Microsoft for the next 4 days, aren't we?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to take over." But so it's a big deal for us, is working together, and I think in Charlie's organization too. I think we're on the cusp of something big on taking this industry to the cloud, and I think it's going to be a big talk and big thing after the show.
Anything for you guys after NAB, of course?
Well, I mean, I think we're emerging from the hype of IP and SDN and cloud to the realities and deployments, and we're managing through 50 cloud deployments right now. So managing through those, delivering on Q2, those are high priorities for me.
All right, cool. All right, so again, broadcasting from the 2017 NAB show right here in Las Vegas. We are honored to be broadcasting to you on nabshow.com and broadcastbeat.com. Again, Jeff Rosica, Charlie Vogt, Harry Glazier, and the amazing Shira Lazar. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
And it's great to have you. Everybody give them a round of applause. Again, from the Met 360 studio, the Met Effect Media Entertainment Technology. We're broadcasting on nabshow.com and broadcastbeat.com. Be sure to check us out online at broadcastbeat.com. We'll see you soon in just a few moments. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bob Cornelia, Senior Regional Manager for Blackmagic Design in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and you're watching NAB Show Live, produced by Broadcast Beat.
Hey, what's going on? Jamie Alexander here with Broadcast Beat, and I'm here at Gear House with my buddy Mark. How are you, Mark?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Really excited to be here. So as you guys can see, we're in some sort of a warehouse situation, but we're going to break it down for you. We're in front of this large mobile unit, and Mark, I want you to tell us all about what this is and why it was important for you to create this.
We needed to up the ante for the latest technology, which currently is 4K. Because of the complexity, the amount of sources, the amount of machinery needed to make this stuff happen, we had to go to something that was built with exactly the same materials as super yachts are made from, which is Columbus, which is a 4K truck right here needed to make this truck. Has a number of features in it that are very different to your typical truck you'll find in North America. Normally on the old trucks you crank things up with a handle, and basically two guys after about 45 minutes get very strong arms doing this to both lift the truck off the ground and pop out what we call an expando, which is this part of the truck. So what happens on this one is, going underneath, I will put this out, we have a remote control. And what this remote control does is we stand off, we hit a button, and this truck deploys 4 hydraulic legs, and then the whole truck lifts itself off the ground. When it's happy that it's level, it pops this side out here by itself, and the floor folds down. And this truck deploys...
Okay, this looks great. So this is the recording area. What makes this different and special on this mobile unit?
We utilize EVS, who are a well-known survey company, and what they do is these machines enable us to record multiple sources of 4K or HD, and we're able to record them so the client can walk away with their own hard drives of what we recorded all day. But more importantly, or as importantly, we also do replays here. These are typically generated at a station like this. What makes this different is that we're able to move these stations anywhere around this truck. And that is mainly thanks to a system we've implicated in full here called VSM. So VSM is made by a German company called Lavo. What's important about that is this truck has so many sources, video and audio coming into it. We handle 4096 by 4096 audio cross points, and then close to 1,000 video cross points. A human being is in charge of all this, and we kind of got to the point where honestly we're kind of asking too much of a guy, as you could imagine.
Right.
So we have a brain that sits over all this called VSM that enables us, once we've told the brain how many sources there are, what they do, where they go, video and audio, and if you add all that up, I just told you, you're looking at like 5,000 by 5,000 sources. A guy has to tell the brain at the beginning what these sources are, and once it's in, and that took us quite a long time to do, but the beauty of it now is when we want to move any source to somewhere else, and even change the way the panels are configured, so if someone's used to it a certain way and they want to move either down there or down the back end of the truck where we're going after, or anywhere in this truck, we just press a button and all of a sudden they get the same layout in front of them, they get the same panels, and we can do that very, very quickly and easily. And that makes people happy. The truck where we're going after. Effectively, this is a 15-person control room. Again, because of what I said earlier on about VSM and the way that we can manipulate and move easily certain positions, working positions, operational positions around a truck, we've kind of given people a palette, for want of a better word, of a production palette. So they walk in and we go, who do you want where? We're not telling them where they go.
Yes.
And that's a big, big difference.
So this monitor wall is pretty amazing. Is this in 4K also?
Yes, it is. This happens to be the only all 4K monitor wall currently in North America that we know of. We've done our research, so I think it's safe to say it.
Thank you so much for spending your time showing us this remarkable creation. And
Not at all.
gosh, so much more to come, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, keep them peeled for sure.
Okay.
All right, we're live in the control room. Great segment, everybody. Hey, how are you? Good, yourself? Fine, thanks. You're live on the air right now. I'm streaming. You guys ready? Yeah,
we're ready to go. Cool. Ready to go? We got this?
Excellent, yeah.
Good.
Thanks, brother. All right, good segment, everybody. Let's do another couple of spots here, and then we'll hit the open and go back to the studio. Cool. stand by WPLG bump in 4, 3, 2, 1, and go.
From Master Control at WPLG TV in South Florida. I've been here for 33 years, and you are watching the NAB show live.
Howdy, I'm Jack Harris, a quasi-journalist with News Radio 970 WFLA, Tampa Bay. You're watching NAB Show Live.
Live from
Broadcasting live from Las Vegas, I'm Ryan Salazar, your host, and this is NAB Show Live. Today we have a really special, let's give him a round of applause actually, Dr. Andrew Cross from NewTek. How you doing, Andrew?
I'm doing great.
So it's quite an honor to have you here on the show. You are the pioneer behind NDI.
Well, some people might think so.
All right, so for those who may not know, tell us what NDI is and what it does.
So NDI is basically a way of moving video on a local Ethernet over IP. So, obviously here at the show, IP video is probably the big thing. But what we did with NDI is that our goal was to make IP video accessible to everybody and work today. And so we built a system that allowed any device on the network to see any other device on the network, so that it takes a kind of Internet of Things view of video. So if you hook up a camera to the network, everybody else can see it, everybody can see everybody's sources, everybody can see everybody's outputs, and so it allows everybody to work together and use that to make a true IP show.
Well, what's so exciting is NewTek, I used the toaster way back, right? And everybody had a toaster.
So a secret is that I've never used a video toaster.
Oh, really?
Never used an Amiga video toaster. I've never touched one. Probably nobody at NewTek knows that, but it's true.
All right, so this broadcast is actually, we are using the IP series system. We've got an 8000 in there, I believe, and we've got the IP ingest equipment, so we can actually bring our cameras into the system. We've got all sorts of sources. We're connected to all sorts of locations throughout the convention center. It's really, really cool, and it's so innovative. When I was setting the system up, I'm terminating all these SDI cables, and I talked to Jorge DeGero, and I'm like, hey, Jorge, do I need to terminate this cable and do that? What are you doing, Ryan? He says, and it turns out that I didn't have to terminate anything. I think I have 4 SDIs in and 4 SDIs out, and it's so cool. I've got all this stuff going everywhere.
Well, it's almost magical, and it is surprising. I've got to admit, so when I came over here for this interview, I saw this, and to me it's almost surreal that we're really at a point where you guys are producing what is a big show with real equipment, all running IP. It's amazing. It's one thing to create this stuff and have, see the pieces go together. It's totally an honor, and it just blows my mind to see it actually working this incredible.
So speaking of magical moments, right? So when you were at that moment where you're working on NDI and it actually worked, and you had that aha moment, what went through your mind? Like, what happened?
Actually, gosh, that's almost a planted question, although it isn't. But it was actually right before Christmas, about 1.5 years ago, that we had the first prototype of a system that had all video over IP. And so, in engineering, we're engineers. I'm at heart, I'm an engineer. We don't run SDI cables. We largely use computers. And I brought up the software and I had access to about 100 sources on our network, and I just pulled them up, and they were all sources as if I'd hooked them up to the computer. And I remember it very clearly. It was actually just before Christmas, and it was late at night. I was the last person in the office, and I actually took my phone and I sat back in my chair and I took a photo of this, and I sent a text to a bunch of people I know in the industry, and I said, this is going to change the world. I literally, because it was just so cool to me that I had 16 sources of video up on my computer, and I didn't have a single SDI connection connected to it. It was surreal to me, so I actually clearly remember that moment. I remember it very clearly.
So can you give us some examples of other things you can do with NDI?
Well, the one of the craziest things, and so, we came up with NDI and we had some vision for it. We saw how it could work in an environment like this, although I'm still blown away by how you're using it. But we saw that. But what's happened is over time, I get emails from people doing things that are totally unexpected. So last week I have a friend who went into the Ministry of Sound, the nightclub in London, one of the biggest nightclubs. He did a whole light show and display thing, all done NDI. I got an email just the other day from a guy using the SDK who's using it to do huge outdoor signage with lasers on the side of buildings.
Wow.
I mean, none of those are the things that I thought it would be used for. And maybe that's the coolest part of it all, is that there were, people are pushing the boundaries and doing things with it that we never anticipated, and that's probably the coolest thing for me.
Well, so what's really interesting is almost immediately, and I'm sure you guys were working behind the scenes with other companies, but almost immediately after NDI came out, dozens and dozens of companies, maybe way more than that, are all of a sudden integrating NDI into what they do. And does that mean you're not charging royalty, right?
No, it's free. It's free. I mean, our company's mission statement, the mission that we tell our employees, it's on our website, is we want to make video, we want to give people a voice through video. That is our goal. We want to enable people to produce shows, and NDI is just very much in line with that. We believe that if we make the technologies available for people, they're going to be able to go out there and do things with them that we hadn't anticipated. So yes, we give it away for free. And quite frankly, but before we started, we worked with a good number of companies in the industry, and we knew they would adopt. We knew that they would, they would probably use NDI. But when we came out, we started seeing more and more people signing up, and it did take us by surprise, and it still takes me by surprise. I actually went and did the math just the other day. We have about 2,500 companies that have signed up to use it. So let's round that way down. Or let's just say it's only a few hundred who've actually I'm just saying, okay, right. Look, there's, so easy to be, overly optimistic about adoption. So let's round that way down, just say a few hundred. If I take just the products I know about from those, about one product has been launched every 3 days since NDI's been on the market. I wish we could take the credit for having made that happen. I think much more it's like there's gunpowder on the desk, and we're the guys who maybe put the match to it, because obviously there is a huge demand for IP video. It's enabling people to do things, and that's why this has happened. But it's been very exciting.
Cool. So any exhibitors at NAB, do you know what they're doing with it, or if they're actually using it at the show?
Yeah, so obviously the answer is yes, but the real answer is I've totally lost track. I mean, that there are over 40 booths showing NDI, but I actually, just walking over here, discovered 2 more. So I actually don't know. I mean, what we did is that on our booth, we made available all of the feeds on our booth via the LV, so the Las Vegas Convention Center's IT infrastructure. We made our streams available to everybody who wanted them for NDI, and there's a thing, 30 or 40 companies doing that. So, we can see their sources, they can see ours. I mean, it's kind of like we turned the convention center into an interop test zone. I mean, everybody's using everybody's feeds, and that's cool. But there's actually a whole bunch of companies beyond that I was unaware of that are doing great things with it. And for me, that's the greatest thing about walking around, is you see people using your technology you didn't even know were using it, and that's really cool.
So will NDI be compatible with SMPTE, Ames, and Aspen?
So first of all, I should say, New Tech and I personally are a great supporter of SMPTE. I think what they're doing, and Ames, the initiatives are great. Now, I should say, we have launched products that support those protocols. Now, I think that what NDI does and what SMPTE 2110 do are actually slightly different things. And the best analogy I like to give is, if to take a step back, the reason we are talking about IP is because this infrastructure exists. It's got nothing to do with video. It's like the whole world of networking has been created for us, and we're taking advantage of it. So if you look where other markets that's impact, think about the internet. You know, the internet, IP enabled every device in the world. My cell phone to be connected to your cell phone, to everybody everywhere in the world cell phones. That's amazing. But what that enables is it allows lots of things to exist at once, great technologies to come out, and I don't think that there needs to be one IP technology. In fact, I don't think we should want that. If you think about images on the internet, there's JPEGs and PNGs, and they both solve different needs. And it would be the people who stand up and say, you know what, we're going to get rid of JPEGs, it should go all PNG. They're wrong. Both of those solve different problems, and that's how I see NDI and SMPTE, is we're solving different problems. And I think that in many ways we are entirely complementary with them and they're entirely complementary with us, but we're solving different problems, and we shouldn't fight that, we should embrace it, because that is one of the great things about IP, is that it makes everybody, you know, you can have the same cable and it can take MDI and 2110 at the same time.
Right.
You know, that's never been possible before. So to me, I think it's all about IP enabling us all, and NDI is part of that and SMPTE is part of that, and that we're all here doing it is a great thing.
All right, so embracing technology and getting used to new technology, right? So I respect SMPTE very much. I'm very involved with SMPTE actually. But, you know, so I'll give you an example. So a lot of old school guys I know, old school engineers, and I grew up learning from old school. I kind of consider myself a hybrid, kind of in the middle, IT guy / old school engineer. And they get scared of IP technology in some respect. So, you know, when all of a sudden when it moves from an SDI cable to Ethernet, it's like, oh my God, what's happening? And I've been told, you know, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. But I plug it in, I hook it up, and I'm thinking, oh, it's not going to work, and it works like a charm. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're right, and people are scared by it. But we, you know, as an industry, it's actually funny, you know, we like to think of ourselves at the forefront of technology, but we're absolutely not. You think about this. You walk into a big corporation in North America and walk in with an SDI cable and say, okay, I want to plug this thing in. They're going to be, well, what the heck's that, you know?
Yeah, what kind of
I mean, if it's not Ethernet, you know, and think about it, Netflix, Hulu, I mean, IP video has already happened. I mean, 90% of delivery is now by IP. And yeah, as an industry, the live side is catching up, and that, you know, that's what's happening, and this is great. And I don't think SDI is going away right now either. I mean, I think that, you know, people who predict absolutist views where it's all one thing, all another, are probably wrong. And so we're going to continue working with SDI. But, you know, so you're running SDI. I'm sure that your cameras are SDI, but you're still running IP.
Exactly.
And it's
so
the
we're
fact
embracing
that
and merging those together.
That's exactly right. And, you know, and that is the magic of this, and that's how people should really look at it. You know, and what's going to happen is that 5 years from now, you'll look back and it will have changed a lot more than you think. But my experience has been this. I've actually helped a bunch of people set up real trucks who traditionally have been using SDI for everything, and they go IP, and we help them get up on IP, but they're still using their SDI cameras, they're still taking SDI feeds, and they're actually like, okay, that was actually relatively painless, there's really not much, this is just the same as SDI. And then you go back to them 2 months later and say, okay, so now let's imagine we take the IP part of this out, and they're like, no, couldn't do it. And so I've got a good friend who actually has multiple trucks, and he always says, so now his engineers, you know, they're all fighting to be the ones that run the IP truck and not the older trucks. And it's just because it's not because it replaced the SDI, it just gives them so much more flexibility. You know, that they can pull up a monitor here or a monitor there, and you know, that they want to see a replay a different angle, you can just get it on another output, and it's just really magical how that works.
So let's talk about so NDI's been, what has it been, it's been a year, right?
It's actually almost been 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
It
was not at this IBC, it was the IBC before.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So if this much has happened in that time span, what's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years? Not necessarily with just that, but with the broadcast industry as a whole.
Oh, I mean, it's going to be crazy. I think that, you know, there were some clearly big trends. The way that look, you're not distributing on an antenna anymore. So, you know, I mean, the TV stations are going to come to grips with that. You know, I mean, the internet is the distribution means now, and that's great. that we should embrace that, and traditional broadcast is going to be here for a long time. I'm not somebody who thinks that traditional broadcast is going anywhere. I actually think they fulfill a goal, and I watch it. But there's still lots of other media getting created, and that's going to happen. I think that on the production side of things, I think we're actually very close to seeing the cameras actually move IP and the sources move IP, and that will change everything. Because right now you still need to come down to SDI just because it's the equipment we have. The moment, if you think about the cameras, the cost of cameras has come down to almost nothing. I mean, and it's not been driven by industry, it's been driven by cell phones. It's because we're producing billions of cell phones a year, and so we've learned how to make these sensors that are actually really good now, really cheap.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but what was so crazy, we're setting up the IP series system at our studio in Fort Lauderdale, and Jorge connects his phone to the Wi-Fi, which we have on the same network as the IP series, and all of a sudden it comes up on the switcher. I was just blown away.
But you know what? But this is important, because what it means is that we're not going to be putting extra views of things, having extra angle, and so on is going to become free.
Sure.
And the moment all you need to do is hook them into the Ethernet cable and they're there, suddenly it changes the way we're going to do productions. If you think about your typical sports production, people are normally limited by how many angles they cover, but there's a million more they want. They want to put a camera over where you come out of the locker rooms, and they want to put ones over both baskets, and there's never nobody's asking to get fewer shots, are they? Right. They all want more. You want to be able to pull in laptops, you want to be able to pull in people's cell phones. I mean, all of that is going to be happening, and I would like to think it's not going to be like we're even thinking about discrete connections where everyone's connected. It's going to be much more like that the guy running the show has this canvas of sources that are available to him, and he's actually building the show out of a canvas of sources instead of starting to think about, I've got 3 cameras and I'm going to go from, so I think that's going to be what we start to see happen, and I think that's actually very exciting.
All right, so we have just a few minutes left, but I certainly don't want to miss out on talking about what New Tech is doing at the show, what you guys are announcing right now.
So we announced TC1, which is the latest version of TriCaster, and this is actually really a pretty big deal, and I'm not saying this because I worked on it, although obviously I would. But if you think about the internet and computing power, so there's 3 big catalysts for our industry: computing power, software, and connectivity. Those are the 3 things that have driven this industry forwards and are going to continue to do so. It's, I think, 10 years ago people doubted that, but I think that it's pretty obvious now that's what's going to happen. That's what we've built our company around. But when you look at it, what's happened is those 3 things they've completely revolutionized the low-end part of production. So your local school can produce a show now thanks to those 3 things. But if you go into the Super Bowl, it's being produced the exact same way that it always has. It's not changed. And one of the big problems is that scalability. Getting computers to a point where they can scale to large productions is a very, very hard problem. And quite frankly, that is what we have been spending literally the last 5 or 6 years of our company working on. And TC1 is the first product that takes advantage of this. So we now have a production system that can do 16 channels of 4K, which is affordable. Now, and that is important, because it used to be that there were these 2 worlds, the larger productions and the smaller productions. And this is one that finally merges those 2 and gives people trying to make bigger shows access to all of the tools that it really were totally out of their league before. But in the sense of how this industry is evolving, and I say we're going to get to a point where you have more cameras, you have more sources, you have cell phones. Getting to more sources is a truly critical thing to do. And so TC1 achieves that, and it does it with 4K, which, a lot of people say, well, my customers aren't asking 4K right now. But, the reality is that 4K streaming is pretty much impossible today. We just changed that. We made it so that the tools are available to do a full 4K show of any reasonable size, affordably, and that's a remarkable thing. So I actually think this is a very important product for us. I actually think it's very important for the industry, and I know that seems very two-faced, me saying that, but I really truly believe that, which is why we went off and made it.
All right, so Media DS, let's just touch on that real quick.
Awesome product. Media DS is of our products, is one of the most undervalued. It is magical, because it means that you can take an SDI connection and it gives you distribution. And for a lot of the world, it's tempting to think, we've got the YouTubes, we've got the Facebooks, we've got they can do distribution for us. But they actually only serve a very small need of distribution. schools want to distribute, corporations want to distribute. There's not a corporation with more than 100 people in this country that doesn't want to try to do a live stream to their own employees. Every one of them does trade shows, so every one of them does product launches, and this is a product that helps get your message out there. And it solves the distribution side of the equation. And so you can simultaneously stream locally, you can simultaneously stream on the web, and this takes the antenna that used to cost you millions of bucks, and you need to have out the back of your TV facility, and it means it's in a 1 RU unit that you can put in your RAD. That's pretty incredible. I mean, how much has the world changed to get there? That's incredible.
Exactly. So is there anything else from NewTek that you'd like to share?
Gosh, well, obviously you're using our IP series to run this show.
Yeah.
It was an honor for me to come and see it. Honestly, I'm so thankful, and I'm just blown away when I see people like you using our products. It's incredible. We have. We have products that range from what schools can use right up to what the largest broadcaster can use, and our goal is to make video available to everybody, and that's what we're doing. So
yeah, when we look at the back of the switcher, we're hooking it up, and I see an Ethernet cable and a power cable, and I'm all right. Where's the snake at?
Isn't that crazy?
It's not there.
Isn't that crazy?
It's just insane.
And I'll tell you this, and this is I'll give you the scoop on this. A month from now, we're going to be. NDI is going to get even bigger. There's something big coming that's I'm not going to talk about that makes it even bigger yet. And so,
awesome.
this is just the beginning for us.
All right. So what's your favorite thing about NAB?
NAB.
Like, what does it mean to you? What is NAB as a whole to you?
NAB from manufacturers is a very different experience because we spend years working on something, and this is where we get to tell people about it. And so, me sitting there watching people actually talk about our products, use our products, which is the greatest honor of all, that is the best thing about NAB. It has really changed for me since we launched NDI. I used to come here and I used to feel that, you walk around and unfortunately, we're all trying to explain why our products are the best, and everybody else is trying to, and so to walk around and see other people, us, part of us in all these other booths, that's really cool. That's really, really cool, and that's changed it for me. So it makes it much, much more fun to come to NAB because of that.
So NAB for me, and it's different because I'm not an exhibitor, right? Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe I'm sort of.
You're an exhibitor,
right? But it's the amazing people that I've met here, and every year I come, I run into a lot of the same people, a lot of new people from all over the world, like yourself and my friends from SMPTE and everybody. And NAB, I'm basically family of NAB now. It's just really awesome. So it's very exciting to be here. I've learned so much, and I love things like post-production world, the training sessions that they have, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a very tightly knit community. It really is.
It is, and it's also great because I certainly make a lot of assumptions about things in the industry, and it's great to get here and actually talk to people and realize a lot of what we think is wrong, which is great as well because that's how you learn. So I love coming to NAB. It's wonderful.
All right, so where do you see NewTek in 5 years?
That's a simple answer, and I think that we are a
much larger, right?
Maybe, hopefully, yes. But I'll say this: our goal, is to be the leader in IP production. We want to lead IP production. IP production is the future. I think there is no doubt that there is no doubt that this is where this industry is going, and we want to lead that. And I think we're off to a great start, quite honestly. So I expect to, I'm going to continue to push the envelope even further and become more relevant. NDI means that NewTek are no longer relevant just to our little set of customers. We're relevant to a huge part of the market. That is amazing. So I definitely see. I think we're exactly where the industry is going, and I don't want to jinx it, but man, I think we're going to be doing really great. I can't wait. Give me 5 years from now, I'll take it. So,
all right, again, Dr. Andrew Cross, President, CTO of NewTek, and what a cool guy. Everybody, let's give him a round of applause.
Thanks so much.
It's so great what you brought to the industry. Thank you so much. Broadcasting live from Las Vegas, I'm Ryan Saddles, your host of NAB Show Live. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. Be sure to stay tuned to NABshow.com, BroadcastBeat.com. You can follow us at BroadcastBeat or at NAB Show. We'll be back in just a minute.
Hey, what's going on? Jamie Alexander here with Broadcast Beat, and I'm here at Gear House with my buddy Mark. How are you, Mark?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Really excited to be here. So as you guys can see, we're in some sort of a warehouse situation, but we're going to break it down for you. We're in front of this large mobile unit, and Mark, I want you to tell us all about what this is and why it was important for you to create this.
We needed to up the ante for the latest technology, which currently is 4K. Because of the complexity, the amount of sources, the amount of machinery needed to make this stuff happen, we had to go to something that was built with exactly the same materials as super yachts are made from, which is Columbus, which is a 4K truck right here needed to make this truck. Has a number of features in it that are very different to your typical truck you'll find in North America. Normally on the old trucks you crank things up with a handle, and basically two guys after about 45 minutes get very strong arms doing this to both lift the truck off the ground and pop out what we call an expando, which is this part of the truck. So what happens on this one is, going underneath, I will put this out, we have a remote control. And what this remote control does is we stand off, we hit a button, and this truck deploys 4 hydraulic legs, and then the whole truck lifts itself off the ground. When it's happy that it's level, it pops this side out here by itself, and the floor folds down. And this truck deploys...
Okay, this looks great. So this is the recording area. What makes this different and special on this mobile unit?
We utilize EVS, who are a well-known survey company, and what they do is these machines enable us to record multiple sources of 4K or HD, and we're able to record them so the client can walk away with their own hard drives of what we recorded all day. But more importantly, or as importantly, we also do replays here. These are typically generated at a station like this. What makes this different is that we're able to move these stations anywhere around this truck. And that is mainly thanks to a system we've implicated in full here called VSM. So VSM is made by a German company called Lavo. What's important about that is this truck has so many sources, video and audio coming into it. We handle 4096 by 4096 audio cross points, and then close to 1,000 video cross points. A human being is in charge of all this, and we kind of got to the point where honestly we're kind of asking too much of a guy, as you could imagine.
Right.
So we have a brain that sits over all this called VSM that enables us, once we've told the brain how many sources there are, what they do, where they go, video and audio, and if you add all that up, I just told you, you're looking at like 5,000 by 5,000 sources. A guy has to tell the brain at the beginning what these sources are, and once it's in, and that took us quite a long time to do, but the beauty of it now is when we want to move any source to somewhere else, and even change the way the panels are configured, so if someone's used to it a certain way and they want to move either down there or down the back end of the truck where we're going after, or anywhere in this truck, we just press a button and all of a sudden they get the same layout in front of them, they get the same panels, and we can do that very, very quickly and easily. And that makes people happy. The truck where we're going after. Effectively, this is a 15-person control room. Again, because of what I said earlier on about VSM and the way that we can manipulate and move easily certain positions, working positions, operational positions around a truck, we've kind of given people a palette, for want of a better word, of a production palette. So they walk in and we go, who do you want where? We're not telling them where they go.
Yes.
And that's a big, big difference.
So this monitor wall is pretty amazing. Is this in 4K also?
Yes, it is. This happens to be the only all 4K monitor wall currently in North America that we know of. We've done our research, so I think it's safe to say it.
Thank you so much for spending your time showing us this remarkable creation. And
Not at all.
Gosh, so much more to come, right?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, keep them peeled for sure.
Okay.